Um, so this morning, I know in our email reminders, we had said we are going to just kind of talk about engagement with our communities, our churches, and our nonprofits. And so we're going to be kind of speedy back to back this morning. But I have asked a few of our city leaders to talk from their own experience, from their own pieces of advice that they've heard, slash just practical things that they have seen happen in their own cities, and just kind of speak from that. And so the first one we are actually going to break into is actually churches, uh, how you can best engage your churches. And so I have asked these guys, just kind of previously in the past week, a few of these questions. And so we are going to hear from Joetta in Placentia. And then Gina, I know you are ready to go as well. And so my first question for you guys was slash is, what has been the hardest part of engaging with the churches in your area? Kind of just what are the struggles that you have seen in your cities? So you guys can fight, whoever goes first. Joetta, you're unmuted, so go for it.
I'll go. Well, I think the biggest challenge since I've been part of the co-leader triad here, is that we've kind of had challenges with the post-pandemic recovery, right? Like getting back into churches are kind of struggling to get back to pre-pandemic. And so that kind of trickles down to getting churches to be involved because they're still trying to get their congregations back in person, or whatever the other challenges are that the churches are struggling with. Mm-hmm. My personal church, we're the sponsoring organization, so it's always been part of who we are, but reaching out to other churches has been a bit of a challenge, and getting engagement back.
Yeah. Gina, have you seen much of the same, or maybe a different response?
Much of the same for sure, is getting the numbers of volunteers back. And I think that's a variety of things. I think it's pandemic. I think it's the economy. People have talked about that. Like when the economy is tough, people tend to pull back in as opposed to reaching out. So we've seen similar kinds of things. And a couple of other struggles we've seen is people committing and like actually signing up. Most of the time on the end, like when it's actually the event time, people show up in droves and like more than we expect, but getting them to commit more than like a week in advance, because on our part, that's really difficult. Like if we see all these open spots, we have to evaluate, like, do we close this project? Do we cancel this? Do we shift it? Do we ask them to do something different? And so getting people to commit within a certain amount of time frame. And also, this isn't a huge thing for us, but we do have some of this of the churches like, oh, well, this nonprofit, we partner with them, so we want all of the volunteer spots for that one. We need to have all 40 of them, which is great and fine. But at the same time, from our perspective, we're like, well, we want everyone in the city to have access to that nonprofit or that school. Yeah. We want them all to be able to see and hear about what they do there. So again, it's not a huge thing, but it has been something. But what is really cool is seeing on the other side of that. Like I looked at a project one time and I think it had 17 volunteers and they were from 8 different churches. So like that piece is huge. And when people actually get into that spot, they're excited and like, oh, I've never met you. You're at a different church from me, but we're serving here together. But there's a little bit of that, like, we want all of them kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Now, for everyone else who's listening, you might be thinking, why are we talking about the negatives here? Why are we talking about the hardest part and starting with that? And my idea behind that was for all of us to realize that there are some big similarities, and for you to feel like you're not alone in any of the things that you are hearing or seeing in your city. So just an umbrella thought that I have in this is, the pandemic involved every single one of us. And a lot of the times, churches who say, I want these spots for our people. And it gives us all of the opportunity to say, well, a big part of this is to connect with everyone. And so just so you guys realize, as we are talking about the hard things in engaging these areas, it's so that you don't feel alone when you come across these things. And so to Joetta and Gina, I know so my next question is kind of just, as the practical thing. So what are the practical ways that you guys have found the best ways to not only engage with your churches, but even just like, a helpful tip or a marketing tool that you've used specifically with your churches to get them engaged and involved? Joetta,
We,
go first.
yeah.
I don't know.
We have, so the last 2 years, we actually decided to have a designated person on our leadership team that we call our church liaison. And they actually reach out personally to all of the churches in the city and connect with the leadership there and, do as much as they can to get them involved. This past year, we switched our church liaison, and the person that we have in charge now is just, God really placed him there because his regular job is engaging with churches for his work. So he always has really good, strong relationships with these churches, and his job involves he works for Upward Sports. So his job is to get people to do, churches to do Upward Sports, people to serve within their church. And so he is just the ideal person. And we saw a lot more engagement this year because he has those personal relationships. And so that's been really great. And then he brings that back to us and, ways we can help him. He's found it very helpful to hand deliver our sponsorship forms, our save the date cards, our posters, all of those kinds of things. And then he personally shares our social media posts with his church contacts so that then share it with their congregation. And so it kind of trickles down, but those have been really helpful.
Yeah. So having a key person in those connections with the churches has been really helpful for you guys.
Yeah, big time.
That's awesome. Gina, what about you guys?
Well, kind of to pair with that from the church side, and this was before, I've only been on the team for 3 years, and Cause I Love You has been around in Colorado Springs is where we are, for 6 years. So before I came on board, they decided to do something what they call identifying a church captain. That was just the name that they came up with. You can call it whatever. But sometimes when you're trying to connect with a church, the lead pastor is not your best person to be able to communicate ideas and share with their people. And so as we introduce new churches, we identify that church captain. Who is it? Is it the outreach person? Is it is an executive pastor? Is it whoever? And that has been huge. And so what do we do with those church captains? We send newsletters every month with what's happening in the city, what's happening in schools, and what's happening within Cause I Love You. So every month they get details about what's going on. And so they have, and we use something called, if we're talking practical, we use something called BombBomb, which sends video emails really easily. Like you can do it on your phone. You can take this video and it sends through an email really, really easily. So if you're looking for a tool like that, BombBomb is a really good one. So we send our newsletters through that, as well as for our events, we send our churches a media kit. And so we create, we use previous photos and like create Facebook posts, we create slides, we create like all kinds of different things, and it's all in this. We use Google Drive, we use Google Suite a lot. So it's just a folder that they have access to. It's like all the photos, posts, all the things that they might want to use so that they don't have to create it to
Yep.
send out to their people. So that's been really helpful rather than me just having to like one-off send people things, like we just send it to everybody through that newsletter.
That's super smart. Awesome. Yeah, I have found churches with if you give them a media packet, a lot of churches that, unless they're big churches, don't have a media person. You know, it's as I have personally found, it's their worship pastor who is asked, "Can you make a slide for this?" And I'm like, "No." And so having that is that's a really good practical tip. Awesome. Okay. So what we're going to do, I know I said we're going to move kind of fast. So I'm going to give just like 2 minutes here on the clock. If any city leader has like a question, just kind of a quick Q&A here, to Gina or Joetta, and just kind of asking, hey, can you repeat that? Or what did you find here? I'm going to open the floor for that real quick. If not, that's okay. We'll move on. Okay, I'm moving on. Okay, awesome. So we're gonna shift to community engagement. So this is kind of a broader spectrum. Obviously, it's volunteers and people, but it's also can be your city chambers and all of that. And so I specifically have asked Angel with Serve Los Alamitos, and then Rick with Love Orange. If he's still good with it. No, I'm kidding. He is. So again, same questions here. Kind of what has been the hardest part that you have seen to get the communities engaged? And I will have Angel, you go first.
Sounds good. Hey everyone, my name is Angel. I think it's a little bit different for me because I am a city employee, so I work with the recreation department. So I kind of have a little bit more of a better access to the community, I would say. But for me, what's been really hard about engaging the community is just kind of like a lack of time. So like me personally, I kind of run this citywide service day, but at the same time, I'm also managing different programs and classes. So I do youth sports, adult sports. And so with that kind of comes a lack of time in regards to engaging with the community for our event. And so it's kind of having to pull different people to kind of help and get together and see how we can engage the community best. But you know, being with a city, we have a lot of events and stuff like that, so it makes it a little bit easier to kind of, you know, have a hands-on with people in our area. But I would say the biggest thing for us, for me personally, is just kind of a lack of time. And also, I think people are less willing to maybe serve as they were before. I think coming out of COVID, and people are just busier, it seems like, as the years go on. So that's kind of been the hardest thing for us with engaging with community.
Okay. Rick, what about you? What have you seen?
I think one of the things that was very obvious early on was that most organizations don't know how to imagine what a partnership could look like. So when you go to a school, for example, and say, hey, we'd love to help out, or even to your city, oftentimes they're like, yeah, we've got a park we could use someone to go walk through and clean up. And we're like, no, we want to really do something. So we've had to actually sit down and help coach their imagination in terms of what that partnership could look like. And so I think that was one of the very early things. Another one I think is a hesitance to, especially with churches, because they're working with churches often comes with baggage. And so to earn the trust that the baggage isn't going to be a Bible in every bag kind of a thing for, or not that would be a bad thing, but they're just that we're not going to turn every opportunity to talk to someone as an evangelistic crusade, and so to earn the trust that we are legit partners when we do love our community, and we do think that we offer a legit way to move forward in making it a better place. So that takes years of investment, and it's just being engaged with them that way. And that was one of the first parts, is getting through the door. They don't want to let you through the door a lot.
Yeah. So what kind of to bridge to the next question here, one of your practical ways to engage would be number one, just truly building trust with the community. And then the other is sitting down and almost having these coaching moments of kind of getting the creative juices flowing, where it's not just, I want to pick up a park, or I feel like you can see a lot of common projects, which is great, but we want to get past that. And so these coaching opportunities, would you agree that those are kind of some of the practical things?
Yeah, for sure. And some people, I think we live in a world where, so on school campuses, for example, working on a school campus, which is a lot of what we've done, principals may be hesitant because their unions will complain if someone comes in and does the work for free, that they're losing out on work opportunities. And so you have to have a principal that's willing to take the risk on, I just need the work done. And but that's a relationship, because they have to trust you that you'll actually get the work done in a way that's not going to get them in trouble.
Yeah, that's good. Angel, what about you guys? Any practical things that you have seen to help engage, or to help, or to add on to what Rick has said?
I think like something I want to mention that I think is pretty cool that we do here in Los Al is that we hold like a monthly meeting with nonprofit organizations in our city. And so when you can get the nonprofits involved and get them, us meeting once a month, we talk, we just kind of conversate. We talk about things that are happening in their organizations, talk about things that are happening with us. So it's basically like a citywide calendar that we create. We come together for topic discussions and things like that. And so it kind of builds like a unity and trust and family type feel throughout the year. And so when you have those nonprofits engaged, it makes it easier to reach a whole like larger scope of people, because now the people that they're involved with will see what's going to happen on this service day. And so it just makes it a lot easier to get more volunteers when you're involving nonprofits. Other things that we do too is like we have our e-newsletter or press releases. We'll write those. We'll send emails through Constant Contact constantly to community, to our database. So that helps big time in getting, the community engaged for sure.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm
Yeah,
hearing, oh, go for it, Rick.
No, I would say that community, the nonprofit meeting is a huge thing, because there are nonprofits in your city that have part of the requirement of their organization, where if it's an Elk or Rotary Club, is they have to serve. So they're looking, and they have money that they want to give away. And so, but they need places to serve. And then there are other organizations where they're just about, they need help. And so when you can begin to have those conversations, the other thing that becomes important is many of those organizations have galas or balls or fundraisers. And when they all end up on the same weekend, you start shooting each other in the foot. So by having, like Angel said, a community calendar that has all of your nonprofits planning ahead, we changed our serve day because of that community calendar. Because of there were 3 balls galas in the same weekend, and getting people up on a Saturday morning after they've been at 3 balls that week was too much. So
no one wins if that happens.
no.
Awesome. Hey, so I think that is a great transition piece into talking about engaging our nonprofits. But before we do that, does anyone have any questions for Rick and Angel, just kind of practically on engaging our communities? Again, it's okay if you don't. Cool. And we'll open it up at the end too. Okay, so that, like I said, is a great little shift into talking about our nonprofits. And so this one I've got Joetta and Gina. I know the same, you 4 are kind of my key people here. And so again, I know we noted and hinted at maybe a monthly meeting here with our nonprofits. But as far as the nonprofits go, Joette, I'm going to have you answer first, but what has been, again, same questions, just what has been a difficult thing that you have seen in engaging specifically with the nonprofits in your city?
Yeah. So we've got some challenges. We've built relationships, kind of like Rick was alluding to, right? We've built relationships with our nonprofits over the years, so it's not as challenging as it used to be. But the trust was a big thing in the beginning because,
Mm-hmm.
you know, while some of the, so, like Rick was saying, right? Some of the nonprofits, they want to serve, they have their service orientation, but then
Yep.
there's nonprofits who actually need the help. And so to kind of gauge that and make that work. I love the monthly meeting idea. We, again, on our leadership team, we have a nonprofit liaison. She's responsible for checking with all of the nonprofits on what kind of help they might need, or in what ways they might want to, you know, if they have a grant that they want to use to be helpful with our citywide service day, you know, is that something that they can make happen? And so we try to work with them and meet with them, not monthly, but we do, we start in January and we check in with them throughout the whole time until our day of service.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Gina, do you want to add anything to that?
So I love the idea of the monthly meetings. As I'm thinking about even the challenges, I'm thinking like most people within the nonprofits that I know of are also overtasked. So busy, and you see the same, you know, you're in these rooms and you see the same people in different rooms tackling different problems. And so I think that's some of it is, and also like some people creating a new nonprofit and like, why are we creating a new nonprofit when you could just join what's already happening? And so like, how do you keep that communication going of, like there are so many good things happening in our city. There are so many nonprofits doing such great work, but sometimes we don't know about it. And so like, how do you make sure people know about what's already happening so they don't duplicate it or try to do the same thing in a different way or whatever. But as I'm thinking about that monthly meeting, I'm like, gosh, I don't even know how could we even ask people to give up one more time to be able to do that? Although I understand the benefit of it. So yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges is like having people stay in their lane, not create something new, and know about what's already happening so that they can then like refer people to something else.
I know. Rick, do you want to, I just saw your message there in the chat. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, just to speak to that. Yeah, all the nonprofits are busy, right? Everybody's scrambling to do all the work that we have to do. So we didn't want to add. So ours is once a quarter. It's over the lunch hour. It's literally 1 hour, 12 to 1 o'clock. We're out right away, and it also includes lunch. We have an organization that provides lunch each time we meet, so 4 times a year.
If you feed them, they will come, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, I will say, I mean, just kind of adding on to this is our nonprofits are, and this kind of goes in hand even with like asking for projects, is you can email them, they're like, I have no idea, and they just throw their hands up, right? And they're like, I don't know. And it takes kind of that coaching to say, hey, I'm not asking you for more time here. I just like sitting them down and saying, we want to help you, and let's help be creative and think about these things, because what I have found is nonprofits are so engaged with what they are doing to try to fill their hole, is that they forget, like, hey, we've got volunteers that can help you fill those holes. And so they're just so focused and driven on that. So I think what I'm hearing is a meeting, whether it's monthly or quarterly or however you want to do that, has been really helpful practically with your nonprofits and just kind of engaging with them. To you guys, is there anything else that you would add just kind of as a practical tip in engaging your nonprofits? And then we'll kind of shift to some closing thoughts.
The
One
only
thing,
thing I would, oh, go ahead, Jada.
no, go ahead.
I would just say we also have quarterly meetings in the different focus areas that we work in with our homeless neighbors, with our schools, and with our seniors. And that brings a whole different crowd together, again, providing lunch and stuff like that. So, and those usually involve some of our city leadership, so mayors and fire chiefs and stuff like that. So that gives a little value that their voice is being, their issue is being brought before people who count.
So you have a meeting quarterly with all of the nonprofits, and then you have one specifically with the food banks and then, or et cetera. And so you break it down into category. Interesting. Okay. Joetta, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say that we also do things with all of our nonprofits, like if they need help throughout the year. So that's part of our, keeping Love Placentia moving throughout the year. But we do also for our nonprofits, if they're having an event or they're having some sort of a function where they want to get the word out, we partner with them and post that on our social media, or we share it with our contacts so that they can, get out there and that people can participate, because then we feel like if people participate with if they find a particular nonprofit that they love, that's going to be where they may want to serve, during our citywide volunteer day. And so partnering with our nonprofits to publicize them and to help them when they're needing help throughout the year. I think that's been great for relationships with them.
Awesome. Cool. Hey, I want to say thank you to you guys for just kind of sharing. And I really hope that for the rest of us, and myself included, is that this has been not only helpful, but kind of just more conversational in how we can engage with our people, with our cities. And so before we kind of close and whatnot, I'm going to open it up again. If you've got any questions over any of that, anything practical, anything you're like, just inspire me, give me encouragement. If you've got anything, I'm going to give you a few seconds here to unmute and ask.
From those of you that are holding these community nonprofit meetings, what is the biggest thing you're hoping to gain from having those meetings, aside from just engaging with nonprofits? Is there something else that you would say that you're hoping to get from those meetings?
We get sponsorships out of that. We get volunteers out of that. We cooperate together on training how to do social media. We have all the profits. We have an organization that has come in and done training with them on how to do social media, so that as we're sharing each other's social media, we know how to do that in an effective way. We have hired a grant writer together so that we have a shared grant writer for the whole organization. So there's a bunch of different benefits for that. So
Awesome.
Thank you.
Cool.
I'm curious, whenever you have your meetings for your nonprofits, are they for the ones that you're currently partnering with, or do you open it up to every nonprofit? Like, we are working with probably around 30 to 40, but there's around 400 in our town. So how do you decide who comes to that meeting?
So for us, it is open to everyone who does work in our city as a nonprofit. If they want to participate, if they have something to bring to the table, whether that's an opportunity to serve, or if that's if they're a children's club, our school foundations, our police and fire foundations are part of that. Our Rotary clubs. It's if you're doing service, if you're serving people in our city, you're welcome to the meeting. And yes, the room gets full.
Yeah. Thank you.
So a RSVP system is helpful for lunch. Okay.
Required.
Yeah. Awesome.
And we limit we limit the number of people from one organization. You can't bring 5 people from each organization just because the room is too full.
That's smart. That's really smart.
We've had other cities ask us, can we come and learn what you're doing? And we've had to say, you know, we'll talk with you on the side, but the room is really too full. The business we have to do with each other is too important. So
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. Thank you guys for all the tidbits, advice, pieces of just, it's so good. And I love just being able to talk and just have a conversation and be like, what are you doing that's working? And I think that is really helpful. I'm hopeful it's helpful for all of us here. Jeff, I am gonna pass it on over to you and you can take it from here.
Sounds great, man. Hey, you know what? I just love this is what's so cool about. I know more people are going to listen to this later and watch this, but just so we can learn from each other. Like, none of us have this figured out, right? We're all doing the best we can do. But as we listen to each other in our different cities, like, there's so many great ideas, so many insights, and so much empathy. You know, this is hard. This isn't an easy thing. So this has just been super encouraging for me just to listen to. And I was thinking about that, man, the big takeaway, obviously, that we're the conveners in the city. And if we could convene the nonprofits, holy cow, we have so much influence. When a need comes up in the cities are going to look towards us to meeting that need, because we're the ones that are most connected to the churches, we're most connected to the nonprofits, we're most connected to the schools, we're most connected to the government. I mean, we're just pretty an amazing place in our cities. So I think having that quarterly meeting, that's what I was thinking too. When you guys are talking about monthly, I'm going, it's too much, man. I don't think how it would work. But a quarterly meeting, I can get a restaurant or somewhere to donate or to help provide the food. Chick-fil-A, they've done that for me before. If you have a Chick-fil-A nearby, I'm sure they do that for you. But just, yeah, having that meeting and listening and just trying to be on the same page, that's huge. I know it's another thing. Not all of us can do that. We all have so much time. But I think if you could pull that off, and not just like you said, Rick, not just in nonprofits, but if we did it with the other sectors as well, that's just, we're having more and more influence in our communities. So, hey, one thing I want to share is we've been working on something called Volunteer Central. So Love Our Cities provides kind of 2 main products: the Citywide Volunteer Day, and certainly opening up to volunteering throughout the year. You can use our website platform to do that. But Volunteer Central is an app that we are piloting in our area right now, or we're getting it ready. October 1st is when we're launching it. So we're just piloting it. We're working through all kinds of things. It's just a lot to work through, but we want to work through it all first before we give it all to the rest of the city. So I'm hoping by October, the end of October, we can hear how it's been going. And then hopefully by next year that we can get every one of your cities that want to have this, you can have this as well. So again, the one day of volunteer day, the annual volunteer day is amazing, but it's not the end goal. It's the ongoing continual pride in our city, ongoing continual involvement. And having an app like Volunteer Central for your city, I think is just going to be a huge asset to your community to have those 2 things together here. So I'll be keeping you up to date as this thing rolls out. And if I had time, I'd show you. I've showed it before, but I'll show it to you guys again as this thing has come along. So super happy and super excited for this. We also have something else coming up. Lisa, share what else is coming up.
Hi, I'm Lisa from Oakdale. I've been working with Jeff on the Love Our Cities auction, and I asked him if I could have a minute to talk to you guys. Our auction's going to go live on this Sunday, August 11th, and we have all sorts of items. And I know some of you are really scattered, which we love, but I think we're all in agreement that every city needs a citywide day. And the goal of this is to raise money for Love Our Cities to help pay Jeff and Danielle and John and the people that are doing these behind the scene things for us so that they have the capacity to go out and spread what we're doing to other cities and bring other cities on board. So a number of our auction items are there, and a number of them can be used by people that live anywhere. So obviously many of them are Central California. Go Giants, go Niners. But a lot of these travel trips can be used by people who live anywhere. And I just really want to encourage you guys, once Jeff sends you the link and it's live, please go on and please share it with your people. If you believe in what Jeff and Danielle are doing here and wanting to spread love our cities and get citywide volunteer days and other places, this is a huge way that you can help. And also, we'd love for you guys to come spend some time in Central California. We've got 3 nights at like a beautiful ocean view house in Pacific Grove. Pair that with the cabin in Bear Valley and come, catch a Niners game in the midst or something. So, if you want to take a California vacation, there are options there too, but there's vacations literally all over the world. So we would really love to have you guys not only pop on there and see if there's something that might work for you and your family, but to also share it with your people. We got to be part of a strategic planning thing this week. And I think what we just love is the vision. We love that this started with Jeff and that it's spreading, and we want to just give him the capacity to not always be fundraising, but to have some time that he can keep spreading this to more and more cities. So I'm hoping you guys will join us.
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa. I so appreciate Lisa so much helping me this year, pulling this thing off. This Sunday is when the auction goes live. And so what I'll do here, I'll include you guys in the email that goes out, sharing about the auction. And if you could just share it, with those that might be interested, especially those trips. I mean, those trips again, and in Napa Valley, some of it is, California is interesting because people do come here from all over the world. But I think those trips, what's unique is wherever you're at, if you're in Carolina or Colorado or wherever, you can go on those trips. It doesn't really matter where you're located at. So yeah, if you could share it on your social media, and this just helps us we want to keep our annual contribution as low as possible for you guys. Like, we want it to be accessible to anybody. So having a fundraiser like this helps us keep those prices as low as possible. I think that is it, y'all. Thank y'all so much. Anything else?
I just want to say, Lynn, I see your comments. So I know Jeff and I are going to hang out afterwards, but if anyone else would like to speak into just kind of the year round, what they're doing, and then any last minute volunteers and what their resolve is for that, I'd say stay after, but that's all I got. Lynn, I see you. That's all.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you
Awesome.
next month.